Welcome to The Explainer. Every project runs on money, but where does it all go? It can feel like a total black box, right? Well, today we are going to crack that box wide open. We're going to give you a super simple three-part framework to see exactly where every single dollar is going. The goal? To put you back in control.
Have you ever found yourself just staring at a project budget, completely baffled, thinking, where is all this money actually going? It's a feeling we've all had, for sure. And getting a handle on that is, it's the absolute key to managing a project effectively.
Look, on the surface, a project's finances, they can look like a total maze, right? You've got these charts with all these tangled lines, timelines are shifting all over the place, resources are getting moved around. It's all supposed to be detailed, but honestly, it just makes it really, really easy to feel completely lost.
But here's the good news. There's a secret to navigating that maze. All that chaos, it can be sorted. It actually just boils down to three, and only three, key categories of cost. And once you get these three categories down, that maze, it stops being a maze and starts looking like a nice, clear roadmap.
All right, first up, direct costs. The easiest way to think about these, they're your frontline expenses. This is the money you're spending to get the actual hands-on work done.
So, here's the simplest test I know for figuring out if something's a direct cost. Can you point to a specific task on your project plan and say, okay, this money was spent on that thing? If the answer is yes, boom, it's a direct cost. It's totally traceable right back to one specific chunk of work.
Okay, to make this super real, let's use an analogy that we're going to stick with for a bit. Imagine your project is organizing a charity dinner dance. So, what are your direct costs? Well, it's the obvious stuff, right? Hiring the jazz band, paying for all the food and drinks, printing out the invitations and tickets. You're literally paying for the core pieces of the event itself.
And this is exactly why in the world of formal project management, we're so obsessed with the work breakdown structure, or WBS. Its whole job is to take a giant project and slice it into the smallest possible tasks. We call them work packages. And this is where you assign those direct costs. It lets you track every single dollar spent on a very specific activity, super precise.
So, why does this matter so much for you, the project manager? It's because direct costs are, by far, your most controllable expense. This is your playground. You can pick different suppliers, you can negotiate better prices on materials, you can even tweak the scope of a task. This is where you have the most financial power.
Okay, so if direct costs are the building blocks of your project, you still need something to hold all those blocks together, right? That's where our second category comes in, project overhead. The best way to think of this is like scaffolding. It's the support system for your entire project, not just for one little piece of it. Now, the official term is direct project overhead. And I know that sounds a little confusing, but let's break it down. The word direct here just means it's tied directly to your specific project. But the word overhead means it supports the whole thing, not one individual task. And here's the key. These costs are temporary. The second the project is over, poof, they're gone. So let's jump back to our charity dinner dance. What's the overhead in that scenario? Well, it's your salary as the project manager for the event. It's that temporary office space you rented just for the planning phase. It's the license for the event management software you're using. See? You didn't spend this money on the band or the food, but let's be real, the project would have been impossible without it.
Basically, these overhead costs, they're the price tag on your project's support system. It's the cost of having you, a dedicated project manager, a team, and all the specific tools you all need to make sure everything gets coordinated. The money isn't for one task. It's for the human infrastructure, if you will, that's running the whole show.
Okay, so how do you control these costs? Well, your power here is all about the timeline. Think about it. Every single day your project is running, you're paying for that overhead. Your salary, the office rent, the software, it's all ticking away. So if you finish early, you save real money. Your schedule suddenly becomes your most powerful financial weapon.
All right, last one. We're going to zoom all the way out now to our third and final category, general and administrative costs, or what everyone just calls G&A. This is the big picture stuff. These are the costs you basically inherit just for being part of a larger company or organization.
So G&A overhead covers all the ongoing expenses of running the entire organization. And the key thing to get here is that these costs are spread out. They're allocated across all the projects, all the products. They aren't linked to your project specifically, and they definitely don't disappear when your project is finished.
So to finish up our dinner dance story, the G&A costs would be things like, say, a small share of the main charity's full-time accountant's salary, or a tiny portion of the rent for the charity's main head office. Your little project has to absorb a small piece of these much, much bigger, ongoing company-wide costs.
And when you put all three of these together, you get your total project budget, which usually looks something like this. The biggest slice of the pie, almost always, is your direct costs. That's the actual work. Then you've got a pretty decent chunk for your project overhead. And finally, there's that smaller slice that has to cover the corporate G&A.
And your control over that G&A slice? Yeah, it's pretty much zero. These costs are decided way up at the corporate level. Really, the only influence you have is, again, finishing your project on time or even early, because that's when they stop allocating those shared costs to your budget.
Okay, so we've laid out the three types: direct, overhead, and G&A. And I know what you might be thinking. Okay, but why bother with all this? A cost is a cost, right? Wrong. Because splitting them up like this isn't just some boring accounting exercise. It's literally how you go from being confused by your budget to being in control of it. So what's the actual real-world payoff? For you, the person who's actually running the show.
The payoff is huge. Immense. As soon as you separate the costs, you immediately see where you have actual control. And with that clarity, you can start making way smarter decisions, better trade-offs. And you know what happens when you make better decisions? You get more accurate budgets. And more accurate budgets, well, that directly boosts your chances of success. It's a chain reaction.
This right here, this is the whole goal: financial clarity. When you can look at a budget and confidently put every dollar into one of these three buckets, you've just unlocked a seriously powerful tool. Just seeing the breakdown is the absolute first step to taking real, meaningful control.
At the end of the day, it all boils down to this one idea. Understanding these cost categories gives you a much, much clearer financial picture. And with that picture comes better planning, tighter control, and smarter decisions. And let's be honest, that's the whole game, isn't it? So I want you to think of this as your new superpower: financial X-ray vision. From now on, you can look right past that big single budget number and see the hidden structure underneath it all. So my question for you is, on your very next project, what are you going to see now that you couldn't see before? And what are you going to do differently because of it?